Hey gang, how's it going? Still really friggin' hot, but I have made it back into the studio. But you're gonna have to put up with me in a vest, because it's... Well, I'm also not wearing any trousers, so, you know. I want to talk about remixes a bit. As you may know, I recently had one of my remixes published, which was really fun, and today I published a remix of one of my tracks as well. It's a good time for remixes in my life. The questions I want to try and answer in this video are: why are remixes fun? Why are remixes important to album or EP promotion? And how do you actually commission a remix? So let's get started. Why are remixes fun? One of my favourite things in music is genre mashing, any combinations of different genres. So electro swing, for example, is really fun because it combines modern electronic beats with old jazz samples. Let's say you're in a rock band, having an electronic music producer use some of your samples in a piece of their work would be awesome. Well, it'd be fun for me. Anyway, but another thing I think is really cool is having another person's interpretation of your work. Maybe you spent hours working on the melody for a track, but the thing a remix producer is really drawn to is the bass line. So if they were to recreate your track, the bass line might be like the central thing in that piece of music, which is something you might never have considered. So that's why I think remixes are fun. Now let's look at why remixes are important to album or EP promotion. In general, people might listen to a few diverse genres of music, but I think they'll still find themselves primarily gravitating towards a single style. In general, maybe. If you're a singer-songwriter, or a rock band, or a jazz trio, you might not have music to electronic music fans. You might not have music to electronic music fans. Have music to electronic music to music. If you're a singer-songwriter or a rock band or a jazz trio, you might not have music to electronic music fans. Unless you get a track remixed. Now, the remix producer's fans might not listen to the original version of your track, but they'll still listen to the remixed version, right? That's something, isn't it? Having a remix of one of your tracks made isn't a lot of work, really, and the payoff is that you get introduced to an entirely new audience that you just wouldn't access otherwise. Now, maybe this audience will listen to your original track and become a fan of yours, or maybe they won't, but worst case scenario, they've still heard the remix, right? Last question. How do you commission a remix? Now, rather than putting out a blanket advert saying, I need a remix, I think you're a lot better off approaching someone you know personally and someone that you can actually talk to about the work you want doing. And if you're struggling to think of who that might be, just ask around in your music circles. You might be surprised who else within your music community actually works with remixes. And if you already have a pre-existing relationship with that person, brilliant. Otherwise, don't be afraid to try and make friends with people over Twitter, Facebook, whatever else. If you're in a rock band and you're certain that no one in your immediate music community works as a remixer, try and find some alternative nightclubs, and there's a good chance that any of the DJs that work there will do remixes as well. Or you could look for electronic music gigs in your area, especially the smaller gigs, because then anyone performing is more likely to be local and more likely to be amenable towards, you know, making a remix for you. Now, a remix producer might not want to work for free, and that's kind of fair enough, really. Paying them, other than being the right thing to do, assuming your finances allow for this, it also makes things a lot more straightforward in terms of copyright and ownership. Assuming you don't have a conversation with them about who owns the track, who can do what with it, and so forth, if you pay them any amount of money, it makes things a lot easier for yourself as the original writer when it comes to any disputes over ownership and copyright. If you pay them even £1 or a penny or whatever, you're more likely to win because you've paid them something. But let's keep things friendly and assume that won't actually become an issue. Maybe I should just talk about what I did for my remix. I contacted a guy I know called Theo Sayers because I know his music. He makes interesting electronic music of good quality, and I have a pre-existing relationship with him. So I decided, I'm doing an album. I think I want a remix for my second single. I sent him a track, and he said he'd be happy to do it. I told him I had a budget, so we haggled very briefly, and I ended up agreeing to pay him £50 for his remix. Not a lot of money, sure, but enough to alleviate any guilt I might have on my part if he sends me a demo and I ask him to redo something, which wasn't something I was really anticipating, but it was nice to have that in the back of my mind. Peace of mind for myself, I guess. I have had experiences of remixes in the past where I've not actually been very happy with the end result, and also haven't been comfortable telling the other artist that, and it's felt really crappy, and it's a crummy situation to be in. So this was another way of avoiding that situation. It's true with a lot of things in life that when you start introducing money to the equation, it gets unpleasant and kind of nasty and uncomfortable, but this is one of those few situations where that's just not the case, luckily for me. So anyway, I gave Theo a sheet of paper outlining things like who would own what aspects of the track, what situations either of us could use it, and it was straightforward because I basically want everything to be available for free download. The entire album, remixes, anything, I want people to have it for free. He was fine with that because he was already going to make 50 quid, possibly more than I'm going to make off the entire album, maybe. The fact she also included release dates for the singles and the album, so he basically had a timetable and knew a reasonable time to send me his first version, and then when I absolutely needed the finished mastered track by. So Theo sent me the first version of the track well within the timeline. We kind of swapped ideas. I think there were a couple of bars that I thought were a bit cheesy, and he agreed, so I ended up taking that thing out. And I think we talked about some of the other stuff he might want to include. But yeah, I was basically really happy with that early version, and it's not an awful lot different to the finished version, which you can hear today. And he sent me that finished version, again, well within the deadline. I think it was a week or so after that initial demo. So yeah, that's it. It's done. It's out in the world. I hope that's all useful information. Like I said, that remix is out today for free download, as is the second single off of my new album, Irradiated Hamster Alert. The track is called Easybiggin though, which is tricky to spell. It's one of the more straight up rock tracks on the album, even though it still has a cool Far Eastern sounding melody and lots of glitchy sound effects. That's about as straightforward rock as the album gets. Theo Sayers' version of the track is really jaunty, but more traditionally electro. It's got a really fun vocal hook that I think is very appropriate and I really like. So I'll leave links below wherever I can. Please take a listen and take advantage of the free downloads. And there will also be a music video for my version of the track as well somewhere. I've got another video you should check out if you want to know more about remixes. That video is over on Panda Music. A while ago we interviewed Yvette Chivers. Now Yvette runs a remix competition called B-Side Project. We talk about why remixes are important in detail. So if this video is interesting to you and you want to know more, that is the next video you should go watch. Again, I'll leave links in the description below and maybe a card around here somewhere if I remember. Thanks a lot to everyone who voted in the Funk versus Shred poll. The results are closer than I thought they would be, but I think there is a clear winner at this point. So if you've not taken a look at that video, if you don't know what I'm going on about, you should go watch the Funk versus Shred video. That's what it says in the thumbnail. I think the title is something like I Need Your Help, Funk versus Shred. And it's about a video I'm going to do some point in the future, and I need people to vote to tell me what to do, basically. I'm going to count the results in a few days, so the poll would have been open for a whole week, and then I'm just going to accept that as the result and start working on that new video, because that's something I'm really excited about doing. That's it for this week. Go download all the tracks, go watch all the videos, and I'll see you next week at 4 p.m. GMT. Toodaloo.